On January 19th, 2025, an anonymous researcher posted the encryption keys to Bambu Lab's new security system on Hackaday. The system had launched 48 hours earlier. Bambu Lab called it a security upgrade. The lock got picked before most users knew there was a lock, which raises a question nobody at Bambu Lab wants to answer. If your security dies in 2 days, what was it actually protecting? The answer involves a 2012 case study they were supposed to learn from. 4 ex-DJI engineers, and a cease and desist letter so reckless it accuses a developer of stealing code that Bambu Lab themselves published. This is how an open-source darling becomes a cautionary tale. In under 3 years. For about 18 months, Bambu Lab was the best thing that ever happened to desktop 3D printing. The X1 Carbon shipped in 2022 and did something nobody else managed. It just worked. Out of the box. No bed leveling rituals, no failed first layers, no weekend loss to firmware tuning. The maker community noticed. Reviewers gushed. Subreddits filled with side-by-side prints that made decade-old workhorses look medieval, and the software was, on paper, a gift to the ecosystem. BambuStudio was an open-source slicer, forked from Pearce slicer, which was itself forked from Slice 3. The entire chain ran under the AGPL version 3. That's a copyleft license with teeth. It says, if you modify this code and let users touch it over a network, you have to release your changes. Rewind to 2022. BambuStudio drops on GitHub. Contributors pile in. Orca Slicer forks it and grows its own audience. Home Assistant integrations spring up overnight. X1 Plus, a community firmware, gets traction. The printer becomes a platform. And the people building all of that infrastructure? They were doing it for free, because they thought the company shared their values. Now the part the launch coverage skipped. Every single founder came from the same place. DJI. CEO Ye Tao ran the consumer drone department. CTO Gao Shufeng ran system engineering and computer vision. Remember that. We're coming back to it. There's an older story underneath this one. From 2012, a company everyone in this space was supposed to learn from. We'll get there. But in August 2023, something happened that the marketing copy never mentioned. Printers started running themselves. At 3 in the morning, with nobody home. August 15th, 2023. Bambu Lab's cloud has an outage. Queued print jobs that hadn't acknowledged the server pile up. When the cloud comes back, every queued message replays at once. Printers in empty rooms wake up. They start jobs on top of finished prints. Filament piles into spaghetti. Hot ends bury themselves in plastic. Some machines are damaged. The lesson buried in that outage is architectural. Your printer isn't on your network. Not really. It's on Bambu's network, and your network is just where it physically sits. Look at your own printer right now. If it's on Wi-Fi, this applies to you. January 17th, 2025. Firmware 01.08.03.00 rolls out for the X1 series. The patch notes use the phrase authorization control system. It sounds bureaucratic. It isn't. Your printer, on your desk, on your home Wi-Fi, with no internet connection, could no longer accept a print job from the laptop sitting next to it, without phoning home first. Every slice now had to route through Bambu Connect, proprietary middleware, then through Bambu's cloud, before reaching hardware 10 feet away. And here's where the AGPL question starts. The license says, if you modify this code and put it behind a network service, you publish the modifications. The authentication code doing all this gatekeeping? It's not in the public repo. And it raises a separate question. If your printer needs Bambu's cloud to start a job, what happens to it the day that cloud goes dark? Bankruptcy. Acquisition. A bad Tuesday. Bambu's stated reason was security. They cited 30 million unauthorized requests a day. The number comes from their own internal monitoring. There's no independent audit. There's no third-party verification. Bambu's security upgrade. 48 hours. The math doesn't math. Bambu Lab said this was about security. 48 hours later, the entire security system was on Hackaday, which brings us back to the question we opened with. A researcher using the handle HWUXH downloads Bambu Connect. It ships as an Electron app, basically a web app in a wrapper. They open the bundled JavaScript. They deobfuscate the main file. Inside it, an X509 certificate and the matching private key. In plain text. Inside the app every customer downloaded. 48 hours after launch, the keys are public. Anyone can sign a request as Bambu Connect. The security never existed. It was a costume. And here's the proof that lands the verdict. Within days, Bambu releases a fix called Developer Mode. Flip a toggle, the whole authentication wall comes down. LAN printing works. MQTT works. Live stream works. Think about what that toggle means. If the security threat were real, this switch couldn't exist. The switch exists. Therefore, the threat wasn't the operative reason. It was the cover story. Think about that for a second. February 2025. A user opens issue 60 on the BambuStudio repository. The complaint is simple. The source code for the new authentication mechanism isn't in the public repo. The AGPL says it has to be. A developer named Paweł Jarczak, based in Wrocław, notices the auth bypass still works on Linux. He builds Orca Slicer Bambu Lab, a fork that lets Linux users keep printing the way they did before. Bambu's lawyers send him a cease and desist. The letter accuses him of impersonating BambuStudio. The thing they say he impersonated? A user agent string. A short piece of text that identifies the software that's making a network request. And it's only getting worse. That string was copied from Bambu Lab's own AGPL licensed public repository. Read that again. Bambu Lab sent a legal threat to a developer for using a string of text that Bambu Lab themselves published, under a license that explicitly permits it. Jarczak takes the project down. He notes carefully that withdrawing it should not be interpreted as an admission of guilt. He pivots to Clipper-based printer support. He has a day job. He doesn't have lawyer money. Around the same time, the lead maintainer of Orca Slicer publicly declines Bambu's offer to integrate Bambu Connect. The note is polite, the translation is clear, and if all of this feels weirdly familiar, that's because it's happened before. Almost exactly. In 2012, September 2012, MakerBot launches the Replicator 2. They close the hardware documentation. They cite carbon copy cloning by competitors. The maker community that built MakerBot's brand is furious. 9 months later, Stratasys buys MakerBot for around $400 million. Within 2 years, MakerBot's consumer brand is functionally dead. The community has moved on. Pearce fills the vacuum. Now lay the timelines on top of each other. Open source, darling, then proprietary pivot, then community abandonment, then legal action against forks. MakerBot 2012, Bambu 2025. Same shape, same beats. And here's where the 4 founders come back. DJI didn't invent the consumer drone. They captured it. Open RC hobby community, progressive API closure, geofencing, mandatory cloud registration. Banned from US government procurement. The 4 people who built that ecosystem now run Bambu Lab. Same engineers, same playbook, different hardware. November 2023. A team led by Joshua Pearce publishes a study in MDPI's Inventions journal. Title: Patent Parasites. They identify at least 32 Chinese patents filed by Bambu Lab's parent company, Shenzhen Tuozhu Technology, each one resembling existing open-source 3D printing tech, none of them citing that prior art. Variable layer thickness, multi-material reloading, nozzle wiping, concepts the community published years earlier, now sitting inside Chinese patent filings with Bambu's name on them. 32 patents. Over technology the community invented, for free. And the closing irony. August 2024, Stratasys, the company that owns what's left of MakerBot, files patent infringement lawsuits against Bambu Lab. The ghost from 2012 walks back into the room, which leaves the people who made Bambu Lab possible, the maker community, with one question. Is there any leverage left? Right now, two things keep Bambu printers honest. X1 Plus, the community firmware that runs without Bambu's blessing, and developer mode, the toggle Bambu added under backlash. Both are fragile. Developer mode lives at Bambu's discretion. One firmware update can remove it. If you accept that update, your printer becomes quietly less yours. On the AGPL question, the Software Freedom Conservancy has been enforcing copyleft since 2006. The record is good. The missing auth source code in issue number 6037 looks like a real violation, not a gray area. And the SFC's ongoing case against Visio is establishing something new. The idea that end users, not just copyright holders, can sue to enforce copyleft licenses. If that holds, every Bambu owner becomes a potential plaintiff. Think about that for a second. There is exactly one toggle between you and a brick. It's called developer mode. If you own a Bambu printer, find it tonight, turn it on. Read the firmware changelog before every update. And the cloud goes dark question. In cloud mode, a Bambu printer that loses its server stops accepting jobs, stops changing settings, stops receiving firmware. The August 2023 outage already proved the hardware can hurt itself when the connection breaks. X1 Plus and Orca Slicer are the insurance policies. They exist because volunteers built them. Bambu's lawyers can make those volunteers more expensive to be. They can't yet make them illegal. Return to where we started. The Hackaday post wasn't a security failure. It was a confession. A 2-day-old lock isn't a lock. It's a sign saying, "This room is mine now, and I'd like you to act like the door is shut." The keys were never the point. The door was the point. Bambu Lab will tell you they're protecting their users. The encryption keys on Hackaday tell a different story. Pick which one you believe. Then check your firmware.